in motion.
Read.
Watch.
Share. Last year's rejuvenation of the Star Wars saga was undoubtedly a roaring success. Ticket sales soared through the roof, critic impressions were enthusiastic across the board, and fans raved at newcomer Daisy Ridley's Rey, a powerful female protagonist in what is arguably one of the biggest Hollywood franchises in film history.
She's very hopeful, even though circumstances are kind of difficult, and I think some other people in those circumstances wouldn't be. She just sees everything in an optimistic way.
But what The Force Awakens did for its female fans, many have claimed it failed to do for its male ones, specifically fathers.
We're sending a squad up.
Negative. We have a reactor leak here now. Give us a few minutes to lock it down. Large leak, very dangerous.
Who is this? What's your operating number?
Boring conversation anyway.
Luke, we're gonna have company!
Harrison Ford's portrayal of Han Solo had never previously been defined by his paternal characteristics. His penchant to enter a room with blasters and sarcastic one-liners simultaneously blazing had led him to encapsulate the stereotypical romantic loudmouth.
I happen to like nice men.
Nice man.
Very nice.
However, with J.J. Abrams' most recent installment in the almost 40-year-old franchise, Solo was transformed into a desperate father, longing for his estranged son to return home from the dark side of the Force. But as soon as the smuggler's Playboy days seemed to be behind him, his role in the Star Wars story came to an abrupt end at the bottom of a 1,000-foot fall. While the death of Solo may not have come as a surprise to fans who knew of Harrison Ford's often voiced desire to leave Han in the past, his departure from the series marks yet another instance of a major film studio marginalising the role of the father figure. Though father figures have rarely taken lead roles in the foremost films of the past few decades, the early days of the blockbuster in the 1960s and 70s saw them predominantly presented as the traditional firm but fair voice of authority, or, more often than not, the helping hand of paternal wisdom.
You just learn a single trick, Scout. You get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view.
Since the 1980s, though, the representation of the father figure has seen a steady decline in positivity, with the turn of the century seeing an emerging trend of fathers that are either significantly broken or altogether absent. What does it all mean then? Surely a smaller number of groundbreaking father figures in modern cinema doesn't really change much, if there were never that many to begin with. Well, Michael Cook, Professor of Film and Sociology here at Northampton University, says that's not the case.
It's called the hypodermic needle theory, the idea that if an institution or group of institutions consistently injects the same message, the same stereotypes into the mass audience, eventually those messages will assimilate into our dominant ideology. Because the more film producers mistreat fathers, the more young men are going to read these shallow reflections as a measure of a man. And the more the feminine power is only represented as coming from the feminine influence, the more young women will see the world of their fathers as unsolicited. We're currently going through an age of the absent father. In 2013, the Centre for Social Justice reported that over 1 million children in the UK were growing up without a dad, and that number would double by 2015. Imagine where it is at now. Perhaps the next shift in dominant ideology will see the absent father transformed into the unwanted father, and that would be a real shame.
What Professor Cook made very clear is that the downward spiral of media representation to which father figures have been subjected is having an equal, if not more crucial effect on the children of the next generation. As such, I met up with Jordan Clarkson to get her opinion on the matter as the daughter of a fatherless home.
I'm putting the kettle on. Would you like a cup of tea?
Yes, please, Jordan.
Yes, please.
This is Jordan Clarkson, an ordinary girl with an unfortunate past. At just 7 years old, she was made to flee South Africa with her cousin, Andrea, to escape the trials of everyday life with her abusive father. Now 15, she's a confident and cheerful young woman, and has agreed to talk with News in Motion about her experience with her father, and how she thinks it marries up with film representation. First of all then, thank you very much Ms Clarkson for coming to talk with us here today and for the exceptional cup of tea.
It's okay.
So, how would you sum up your experience with your father in the past?
My father hasn't been in the majority of my life, so it feels quite normal for me to not have a dad in a way. But then when I started realising that so many of my friends had fathers in their lives, it was then that I kind of realised that it was a missing piece, I guess.
In that case, do you view other people's fathers in the same way you view your own father?
No, I don't think so. I think, yes, it was weird for me to think of people as fathers, my father, but I had people who were like parents to me. My aunt, of course, who I live with, she's my legal guardian, but she's in hospital at the moment, so I'm staying at my boyfriend's house, and he has a nuclear family, so even though they weren't my blood relatives and his dad wasn't my father, he was still like a fatherly figure, like someone I could go to about a few things.
Where would you like to see the representation of father figures heading within the next 10 years?
Well, I think it's important for the media to try and portray the truth, and the truth is that there are abusive fathers, but in my experiences, they are in the vast minority. And I think it'd be absolutely awful to forget about those fathers who do have a massively positive impact in my life. And I think in our era it's important to build bridges rather than to burn them.
Read.
Watch.
Share.